As you grow and become more self-aware, some subtle and unexpected things can happen in your relationships. Conversations can feel different, certain dynamics may shift, and some connections may feel slightly out of sync. You may find yourself wondering, why does becoming more authentic sometimes feel lonely? Welcome back to The Reflective Soul, a channel about personal evolution through awareness. Today, we're exploring why growth can create a sense of loneliness, even when you're moving in the right direction. Often, the loneliness doesn't come from losing people. It comes from changing the role you used to play. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who can't understand. You react less emotionally because you realize not everything deserves your energy. And you begin setting boundaries where you weren't able to implement them before. And while these changes are healthy, they subtly reshape your relationships. You're still you, but you're no longer showing up in the same way. Human systems, families, friendships, social groups naturally seek stability. Psychology calls this homeostasis. Groups tend to maintain familiar patterns, so when one person begins to change, the system feels the disruption, not because you're wrong, not because they're wrong, but because change introduces unpredictability, and unpredictability feels uncomfortable for everyone's nervous system, not just yours. This can feel like rejection at first, but not because anybody has intentionally distanced themselves. The familiar interaction pattern has simply shifted, and the cues that once signaled closeness may no longer be the same. That shift often begins with you. As you grow, you start to talk differently. You value different things, you tolerate less chaos, and you require more alignment. And when your responses evolve, the dynamic adjusts, and that adjustment can register as distance. While the shift doesn't automatically create conflict, it can reduce what psychologists call unconscious synchronization. The quiet, automatic way we adjust ourselves to match the people around us in tone, behavior, and emotion, so we feel connected and in sync. So when you evolve, the unspoken cues that once bonded you to your tribe may no longer match, and that loss of synchronization can feel like distance and even rejection. However, what's actually happening is something called differentiation. Differentiation means you can stay connected to people without shrinking, performing, or abandoning yourself to keep the peace. It means you no longer automatically absorb the emotional state of your environment or the people around you. You're still present, you still are caring, but you're more internally anchored. Your foundation is stronger, and you no longer need to assimilate to your environment to feel secure. However, before that new stability settles in, it can feel isolating. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're no longer blending in the same way you used to. It's important to understand this. Growth doesn't just create clarity. It can create a sense of loss. That loss comes from letting go of who you used to be, the ease of automatic belonging, and the comfort of shared coping patterns. Letting go often feels like grief because something familiar is ending. So, if growth feels lonely right now, it doesn't mean it will always feel this way. It means your more authentic identity is still stabilizing. During this time, some relationships will grow with you. Some may quietly fade, and new ones often form once your internal state has solidified. But that takes patience. And aligned relationships take time to recalibrate. So if you're in this quieter phase, let me say this. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't shrink to regain comfort, and don't assume distance means failure. Give your relationship space to adjust. Give yourself space to stabilize. Alignment takes time because growth doesn't just change you internally. It reshapes your entire relational world. And while that reshaping can feel lonely, it's often the bridge between connections built around who you used to be and connections aligned with who you are becoming. If this resonates, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed your relationships shifting as you grow? And if you're walking through this quieter season, I want you to know you're not alone. And I'd love it if you subscribe to keep learning practical ways to reconnect with who you truly are. And until next time, continue to discover, align, and grow. And thanks for being here.